I remember a day, quite some years ago, where I was feeling really, really bad and I had spent the whole day numbing the hell out of my brain, basically. So I'd spent the whole day playing video games, watching YouTube videos. I think I even watched some porn. And there were some work tasks that I kind of had to do. They were kind of important. I really needed to start doing them. But I felt so bad that I reached this point that I told myself, okay, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to do these tasks right now. Maybe I'll do them tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, who knows? But I feel so bad, I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm just going to give up, I'm going to throw the towel into the ring, and I'm going to start up a video game or just do whatever I feel like doing. I'm giving up, okay? I'm giving in to how bad I'm feeling at this moment. But at the same time that I was thinking about giving up, I was also sort of growing tired of the thing that I was doing at that time. Now, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I've definitely had these moments where I had such a shitty day, basically. And I just went from one YouTube video to another YouTube video. So I'd watch a video for 1 minute and then I'd skip to the next video and then the next video, and I'd just endlessly browse around and I'd start up a video game. But then I'd get bored after 5 minutes, so I'd start up another video game. And eventually I kind of just got to this point where I got so tired of what I was doing, trying to chase some fun but not really knowing what to do and not really having some fun. And you just get tired, right? I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I've definitely had these moments. And I had one of these moments right there. So at the same time that I allowed myself to give up, I also got kind of tired of giving up, if you know what I mean. So I told myself this. I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'll allow myself to give up and do whatever I want to do. But first, I'm going to have a little break. I'm just going to go away from the computer and I'm going to just sit somewhere and do absolutely nothing for a moment to just give my mind a little break. Right, to give my mind a little rest, a little reset or something. And I'll do that for like 10 or 15 minutes. And then I'll come back to the computer and then I'll do whatever I want to do. So then I'll start up a video game and just, have fun the rest of the day. And hopefully I'll actually get to have some fun then. So I removed myself from the computer and I went into another room where there was no computer and I didn't bring my phone. So there was no form of stimulation. And I just sat down on a chair and I stared in front of myself at like a wall or something, and I did absolutely nothing for a couple of minutes. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but within 5 minutes, literally within 5 minutes, I sat there and I started to feel a little bit of restlessness inside of me. And I thought, you know what? That work task that I have been procrastinating on, that I should be doing, I actually feel kind of ready to do that thing right now. I actually feel a little bit of motivation to start up that task. 5 minutes before that, I told myself that I was giving up. I allowed myself to give up, right? But within literally minutes of doing absolutely nothing, I started to feel a little bit of motivation that I hadn't felt before in a long time. I had completely changed my mindset within 5 minutes of doing absolutely nothing. And it wasn't just the work that I started to think about and that I started to find some motivation for, but I also started to think about a lot of other things in my life that I always wanted. I started to think things like, why have I been eating so unhealthy the last couple of days? Why have I been overeating? I really want to get a better body. I should be getting more serious about going to the gym. I should be talking to more girls. I should be working towards my other goals. I started to feel some sort of a restlessness, some sort of a hype on life that I hadn't felt before in a very, very long time. And I started to sort of realize from this point on. Now, I'm not saying that it all came to me in that one very moment that I had an epiphany and poof, then it suddenly came to me. Obviously, I had a bunch more moments like this, and it's over time that I started to think about it. But I think it was like from this point that I started to think about it and that I slowly started to realize that most of the time that I was, let's call it, wasting away my life and struggling to find the motivation and the passion to actually do the things that I wanted to do somewhere deep down, it wasn't necessarily the fact that the things that I had to do were so hard, or that they were so uncomfortable, or that I didn't know where to start or whatever. But it was probably due to the fact that I was always, as a default, distracting myself, doing things that were very fun, doing things that were very stimulating, that give you a lot of dopamine. And so I had probably raised my dopamine levels, my dopamine baseline, if you want to call it that, all the way up here. I was doing the things that give me the most stimulation, right? The things that give me the most dopamine. And so now the things that I had to do and the things that I wanted to do somewhere deep down were no longer attractive to me, because these things don't give you as much dopamine. They give you some dopamine, but they don't give you as much dopamine as the things that I was doing, the video games, the YouTube videos, the porn, all the things that I was doing all the time. And because I was up here all the time, the things that I really had to do, the things that I really wanted to do, no longer were things that I wanted to do, because I didn't want to go down here. My dopamine wanted to stay up here, because we are designed to always want to get the most dopamine that we can get, right? And if we're already up here, we don't want to go back down here. And as soon as I started to do nothing for just a couple of minutes, I moved down my dopamine levels again. And now, compared to the dopamine levels that I was having down here, the things that were up here suddenly started to become a little bit attractive. I actually started to think, hey, wait a second, I kind of feel like doing these things. Because I allowed myself to feel like doing these things because I was down here and not up here anymore. And this is probably also the reason why, if you go on like a vacation and you just spend a couple of days or a couple of weeks in nature with no technology at all, you usually start to feel a certain hype that you normally don't feel, right? You get creative ideas. You start to think, oh, I should really start to do this. I start to do that. I should really learn to break my comfort bubble and overcome my fears. I should really start to work towards my goals. You start to feel this passion that you normally don't feel. But then whenever you come back home again, within a couple of days usually, poof, the passion's gone again, right? And then you ask yourself, why is it that I felt that motivation while I was on the vacation, but now that I come back home, the motivation's gone again? Well, it's probably because you were out there in nature, not overstimulating your brain. Your dopamine levels were down here. And so now you started to think, ooh, these things, I want to do these things. I really want to do them. But as soon as you came back home, what happened? Your dopamine levels, woof, you put yourself back up here. And now you no longer wanted to do these things. You didn't want to come down. I even noticed this on a day-to-day basis. If I start my day by distracting myself, so I open up some YouTube videos, or I pick up my phone, or I even start up a video game, which is one of the dangers. If you work for yourself at home, you can start up a video game before you can get to work. I noticed that 99% of the time, I'm probably closer to 100% of the time, I had a tough day. A tough day. Now, some of these days, I might have actually brought up the discipline to do some work anyway, eventually, right? But even then, it was tough. It took me a lot of effort to start up the things that I had to do. While I was doing them, I felt the urge to constantly open up a browser like YouTube or something, or start up a video game, or pick up my phone and start distracting myself. And I was constantly thinking, I can't wait until I'm done with these work things, and then I can watch a YouTube video or start up a video game again, right? It was a tough day. And every time I did the opposite. So I started the day by not distracting myself, but I just woke up, I did my morning ritual, and I got straight to work. And then I forced myself to work for a couple of hours without any distraction at all. I ended up having a great day. At least those initial few hours were very productive. When I started to work, I actually thought, I kind of feel like doing this work task right now. I didn't feel as much temptation to distract myself as I normally feel. And a lot of the time, when I was done working, I actually felt motivated to do other things in my life, like going to the gym or something. There were days where I was done working and I would have expected, okay, now I'm done, so now I can finally play the video game, right? But there were days where I was done working and I didn't even really feel like playing the game anymore, but I actually felt motivated to do some other things in my life that were better for me, right? Things that were really aligned with the goals that I have in life. I started to think things like, I should really bring up the courage to talk to that girl. I should really become more serious about the things that I eat and going to the gym, etc. All these things that I normally didn't really think about, I mean, they were there. They existed in the back of my mind. I wanted them. They were my goals, right? But I wasn't really, how do you put it, connected to them. I wasn't really thinking about them passionately on a day-to-day basis. Do you know what I mean? These things started to come back to me. Now these things were things that I started to think about really passionately, and I actually started to feel an urge to put them into practice and actually start working on them. And so I started to realize that most of the time that people waste away their lives and struggle to build the life of their dreams that is somewhere back there, down there in the back of their brain, it's not because of the fact that the things that they have to do are that hard or that they don't know what to do, but it's simply due to the fact that we have these lifestyles where we always, by default, distract ourselves and put ourselves in that high dopamine comfort bubble. It's that comfort bubble where we feel like we're having a lot of fun, where we feel good and we don't want to come down again. I mean, think about it. It's the default mode for so many people, right? When we are even considering if we should do something, so if we're even considering whether we should do our homework or the work task, it's not like we are sitting there doing nothing, contemplating if we should do our homework or not, right? But we are already starting up that video game. We are already watching the YouTube video, or we are already playing the video game, and then while we are playing the video game, then we start thinking, oh yeah, maybe I should do my homework. We are already up here, right? It's the default mode for us. And so it makes absolute sense that so many people, including me in the past, struggle to move down here again. If we are always trapped up here in that high dopamine comfort bubble, then obviously we are not going to want to go down here. And maybe you've even experienced this to a certain extent yourself. Maybe you've had these days in your life where you had to do some homework, but you started up a game first and you had a tough day, like the example I just described before. You struggled to start up your homework. While you were doing your homework, you kept thinking, oh man, I can't wait until I'm done with my homework so I can play the video game again. And maybe, not everyone's this lucky, but maybe you've also had some days in your life where for whatever reason you started up the homework first, right? So you hadn't watched any YouTube videos yet, played no video games yet, but you just started up your homework first. And you just did your homework and you noticed that it was a lot easier to do your homework, right? It was a lot easier. And maybe you even felt some motivation to do some other things as well. You started to feel proud of yourself and you started to think, maybe I should do these things as well. And when you were done with your homework and you started up that video game, you also had a lot more fun playing that video game, didn't you? It's because now your dopamine went like this. It went up, up. It only went up throughout the entire day, so you felt great. But normally, what you normally do is you start here and then you have to go down. So then you feel like shit. You're not having a lot of fun. You're not even having a lot of fun playing the video game because you feel kind of guilty. And you can't really relax and immerse into the game. And all that happens is that you have to go down. But if you switch it around, if you start by doing the serious things first, you allow your dopamine system to go up, up, and you only feel better. And you allow yourself to actually start to feel some motivation to do the things that you've always wanted to do in life. So I am not saying that you can never do the fun things again, that you can never ever play a video game again. But I am saying that the problem that we're having is that we are doing these fun things by default. We're doing them too much, and we do them before we do the things that we should be doing, right? And that is sort of numbing our dopamine system, and that is killing our motivation. That is preventing us from connecting to the things that we truly want in life. And if you get into the habit of doing the work first and waking up in the morning and not distracting yourself, but doing the work first, allowing your dopamine system to go up throughout the day, your life is going to become so much better because of it. You get more motivation to work, you become more productive, it allows you to focus more on the work that you do, it allows you to feel passion towards the things that you've always wanted to do, and it even makes the fun things in your life more fun. I also started to notice that when I had evenings where I didn't distract myself, so normally I'd spend the whole evening just playing games and watching some porn, maybe some YouTube videos, right? But if I started to have evenings where I didn't do any form of overstimulation at all, so I just, I did something productive, or maybe I exercised, and then I go for like a long walk after something, right? Just go for a long walk and then maybe make a plan of what I was going to do the next day, and then I'd go to sleep. I woke up the next day feeling like a completely different person. I felt an amount of motivation and passion to do the things that I always wanted to do that I hadn't felt before in literally years. Literally years. I was a completely different person. And even in the moments itself, where you were already distracting yourself, like I told you in the beginning of this video, in the lowest lows of your life, where you have the most overstimulated brain that you've ever had, and you're already playing the video game and watching the porn and doing everything. Even then, if you just remove yourself from the overstimulation and you allow yourself to do absolutely nothing for a couple of minutes, you will start to feel a little bit of motivation to actually work towards your goals that you haven't felt before in a long time. So guys, hey, I hope that you can relate to this video. I hope it actually adds some value to your life and that it wasn't all for nothing. I think that's all I have to say for now. I think that's sort of the point that I wanted to make. As you might know by now, I have a free community on Skool. In this community, you can ask for advice, and there's also a free dopamine reset mini course. So if you're interested in learning more about how to actually reset your dopamine system, or if you struggle with it, head over to the community and you can watch that free course. Hope it helps. Guys, see you in the next video.